There's a point in every trader's journey when the market tests you one last time. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. Your setups stop working. Your conviction fades. The trades that used to feel easy now feel like sand slipping through your fingers. You start questioning everything, your system, your edge, even your own sanity. You wonder if maybe, after all these months, all these losses, all these sleepless nights, maybe you just weren't meant for this. But what if I told you? That's not the end. What if that's the test every profitable trader faces, right before the breakthrough? Because the truth is, the market has a cruel sense of timing. It waits until you're most exhausted, most frustrated, most vulnerable. And then it offers you the mirror. Not to show you your strategy, but to show you yourself. That's the final exam. The point where the charts no longer test your analysis. They test your emotional maturity. And in this video, we're going to uncover the 10 subtle signs that you're finally becoming a profitable trader, even if your account doesn't show it yet. But before we go in, if you live and breathe trading psychology, if you're obsessed with mastering your emotions, your discipline, your mindset, make sure you subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, hit like, share this video with a trader who's on this same journey, and drop a comment below where you're watching from. Because what we do here is simple. We study the space between you and the market, where the real game is played. Let me tell you something that every great trader eventually learns, but never in the way they expected. You don't pass the test by finally learning how to win. You pass it by learning how to lose well. Because the universe, or the market, if you prefer, doesn't reward knowledge. It rewards emotional evolution. And emotional evolution never feels good. It feels like loss. It feels like chaos. It feels like you're going backward. But that's how transformation disguises itself. Right before a trader crosses that invisible line into true consistency, life turns up the pressure. Your worst habits resurface. Your patience evaporates. Your confidence cracks. And right there, in that darkness, you face the most important question you'll ever ask yourself as a trader. Do I still trust myself when nothing is working? Because that's the question every profitable trader answers before they become profitable. It's the moment when you stop needing the market to make you feel good. When you stop begging the charts to validate your skill. When you stop chasing the feeling of control and start embracing the art of surrender. You start to realize the market was never your enemy. It was your teacher. A brutal one, yes, but fair. Every loss was feedback. Every mistake was a mirror. Every failure was a test of patience. You thought you were learning strategies, but you were actually learning yourself. And if you're watching this right now, if you've survived the pain, the frustration, the false starts, the drawdowns, and you're still here, that means the market hasn't broken you. It's refined you. Because the market doesn't reward the smartest trader. It rewards the most stable. The trader who can sit in uncertainty and not self-destruct. The trader who can lose money without losing identity. The trader who can win without losing humility. That's who you're becoming. And that's exactly why you're being tested right now. Think about it. If trading were only about knowledge, everyone with a course would be rich. But it's not. It's about character. It's about who you become when the numbers stop making sense. When you can't see the next move. When you're surrounded by noise. When everyone else panics and you stay calm. That's when the shift happens. It's quiet, unnoticeable, but real. You stop checking your balance every 5 minutes. You stop looking for confirmation on social media. You stop needing to trade every single day just to feel productive. You start doing the unthinkable. You wait. You observe. You breathe. Because deep down, something in you knows. The less you force, the more the market flows. That's the paradox every trader eventually wakes up to. The moment you stop chasing the market, it starts coming to you. Not because you changed your strategy, but because you changed your state. Your energy shifted from desperate to deliberate, from emotional to objective, from reactive to patient. And that shift is everything. It's invisible on the chart, but undeniable in your results. It's the sign that you're finally trading with the market, not against it. So, if lately you've felt frustrated, uncertain, or disconnected, don't run from that feeling. Lean into it, because that discomfort means something's breaking down inside you. And it's supposed to. Your old patterns are collapsing. Your impulsive self is dying. Your ego, the one that needed to win every trade, is losing its grip. And beneath all that noise, a calmer, sharper, more disciplined trader is emerging. That's not weakness. That's evolution. So don't mistake this moment for failure. It's initiation. It's the market testing your readiness. Because once you pass this, once you stop reacting emotionally to uncertainty, you'll realize you've already crossed the line between trying to be profitable and becoming profitable. You just haven't seen the scoreboard yet. And that's exactly what we're about to explore next. The 10 clear signs that your transformation is already happening. Some will sound simple. Some will feel uncomfortable. But together, they paint the picture of a trader who's not fighting the market anymore, just flowing with it. Because true profitability doesn't begin with money. It begins with awareness. Now, let's begin with the first sign. The moment you stop reacting to the market and start responding to yourself. You'll know the shift has begun when the market stops controlling your emotions and starts reflecting them. Because that's the first sign that something inside you has changed. You enter a trade, and you don't feel that rush anymore. No heartbeat spike. No instant craving for green candles. You just place it, breathe, and go about your day. That's detachment. The first sign of profitability that has nothing to do with money. Because profitable traders don't trade to feel something. They trade to express something, a process, a philosophy, a plan. They've detached from the need to be right. They've detached from the illusion of control. They've detached from the fantasy that one trade defines them. You used to check your P&L every 5 minutes. Now you go hours, sometimes the whole day, without even opening your performance tab. Why? Because you finally understand. Your value isn't in your last trade's outcome. It's in your next trade's discipline. That's the psychological flip that 99% of traders never reach. They want the market to validate them. You've started validating yourself. You begin to trust the process in a way that feels almost spiritual. You follow your plan not because you're afraid to lose, but because you finally respect the work it took to build it. And that's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing profits, they start chasing you. The second sign is subtler, but even more powerful. You gain control over your impulses. That lightning-fast reaction that used to ruin your setups. It starts slowing down. You still feel the impulse. To chase a breakout. To double down on a loss. To make it back after revenge trades. But now there's a moment. A pause between the feeling and the action. That tiny pause is everything. It's the birth of discipline. The space where wisdom lives. That's the space profitable traders operate from. Most traders think they need more strategy. But what they actually need is more space. Space between their thoughts and their actions. Space between their emotions and their executions. Space between reacting and responding. You're learning to see your emotions like passing clouds, not commands. You recognize fear. You recognize greed. But you don't follow them. You used to fight your impulses like a war. Now you observe them like a scientist. You start realizing something profound. You don't need to eliminate emotion to trade well. You just need to stop obeying it. And that's where your strength begins to show. Not in the absence of fear, but in your calm response to it. Because profitable traders don't feel less. They react less. That's what leads to the third sign, emotional neutrality. This is when you stop riding the roller coaster. Wins feel good, but they don't inflate your ego. Losses sting, but they don't shatter your peace. You find yourself almost unnervingly calm. Friends ask if you're okay. You shrug and say, yeah, it's just another trade. And you mean it. That's when you realize the emotional chains are gone. You no longer trade to feel alive. You feel alive so you can trade. There's a quiet confidence that replaces the noise. You don't celebrate too loud. You don't panic too soon. You just move, steady, grounded, focused. It's not indifference. It's mastery. Because emotional neutrality isn't the absence of feeling. It's the control of interpretation. When the market spikes against you, you don't see danger, you see data. When it spikes in your favor, you don't see validation, you see variance. That's the shift from ego to execution. From emotional trading to statistical thinking. And here's the beautiful irony. When you reach that level of neutrality, you begin to see the market more clearly. You start noticing subtle patterns. You enter trades that feel effortless. You stop second-guessing yourself. Why? because you're no longer emotionally invested in being right. You're invested in doing what's right. You become the calm in the storm, the eye of the chaos, the trader whose stillness becomes their edge. Detachment, impulse control, emotional neutrality. These aren't just signs of profitability. They're signs of awakening. Because when you stop being controlled by the outcome, you start controlling your process. When you stop reacting to the market, you start aligning with it. And when you stop fearing loss, you finally unlock the state every trader is chasing: consistency. This is where your transformation begins. And if you've noticed even one of these 3 signs in yourself, don't overlook it. It's not coincidence. It's confirmation. You're evolving. You're stepping into the version of you that no longer fights the market. You flow with it. And in the next part, we're going deeper into the next 3 signs that prove you're walking the path of a true professional. When trading stops being exciting and starts becoming intentional. When boredom becomes your new edge. And when uncertainty becomes your new comfort zone. Before we move on, if this resonates with you, pause for a moment. Hit the like button, subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, and share this with one trader who needs to hear it. Then drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from and what stage of your journey you're in right now. Because your story might be the one that keeps another trader going. Now let's continue. Somewhere along your trading journey, there's a shift that almost no one notices. Because it doesn't happen on the chart. It happens in you. You wake up one morning, open your trading platform, and you're no longer looking for excitement. You're looking for alignment. That's sign number 4. You've started trusting the process. You used to crave results. You wanted every trade to mean something. Now, you just want to execute well. You stop asking, "Did I win?" and start asking, "Did I follow my plan?" Because you finally realize the plan is the edge. Not the setup, not the entry, not the fancy indicator. It's the plan, the structure that keeps you grounded when emotion tries to drag you into chaos. And you've seen what happens when you break it. One small rule bend becomes another, then another, until your confidence collapses under the weight of just this once. So now you don't break it anymore, not because you're scared, but because you've matured. You understand that consistency isn't about winning every trade. It's about showing up the same way every time. You've started to trust something far greater than the outcome. You've started trusting yourself. And when that happens, the market can't scare you anymore. Because the fear of loss is replaced by faith in execution. You stop reacting to uncertainty as danger and start treating it as normal. You stop seeking dopamine from green candles and start finding peace in process. That's how trust is built, not through success, but through surviving the times you followed your plan and still lost, and didn't fall apart. That's when sign number 5 starts to show itself. You begin choosing consistency over excitement. At first, this stage feels strange. You look around at traders chasing thrill, the rush of big wins, the adrenaline of scalping chaos. And you realize, you're not chasing that anymore. You used to love the rush. Now it feels draining. Because you've discovered something deeper than excitement: peace. You start appreciating the boring days, the quiet setups, the slow grind of small, consistent gains. You no longer measure your success by how alive trading makes you feel, but by how calm it allows you to be. That's when people around you start to notice. They say, "You've changed. You don't talk about trades like you used to." And they're right, because your identity isn't tied to your trading anymore. It's tied to your discipline. Consistency becomes your new currency. Patience becomes your edge. And suddenly, your performance begins to stabilize. Not because the market changed, but because your nervous system finally stopped fighting it. This is the stage where you stop needing to prove yourself. The charts no longer feel like a battlefield. They feel like a canvas. Every trade you take is a brushstroke in a larger painting. And even when the paint drips, you know it's all part of the masterpiece forming over time. That's the beauty of consistency. It's quiet, invisible, and unstoppable. The amateurs look for excitement. The pros look for endurance. Because they know the goal isn't to trade more. It's to last longer. And then comes sign number 6, acceptance of uncertainty. This is the final emotional unlock that changes everything. You stop resisting uncertainty. You accept it. Not because you gave up control, but because you finally realized you never had it. You stopped trying to predict every move. You stopped fighting for certainty in a game that thrives on chaos. You begin to understand what real confidence looks like. It's not in knowing what will happen. It's in knowing that whatever happens, you'll be okay. That's real freedom. And strangely enough, when you stop needing certainty, your decisions become clearer. Your charts look simpler. Your trades start to flow. Because you're no longer trapped in a constant loop of what if. You're finally at peace with let's see. That's where all great traders live. In the unknown, calm and aware, executing without attachment. You no longer trade to control the market. You trade to connect with it. You become the kind of trader who can watch a setup fail and smile because you know it wasn't a mistake, just information. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "What's this teaching me?" That's emotional maturity in its purest form. And if you're at that point right now, where uncertainty doesn't scare you anymore, where boredom doesn't bother you, where patience feels more powerful than adrenaline, you're closer to consistency than you think. Trust, consistency, acceptance. These three signs don't appear overnight. They emerge after hundreds of battles, mostly with yourself. But once they appear, they never leave. Because these are not just trading traits. They're character traits, the kind that bleed into your life. You become calmer outside the market, more grounded in conflict, more patient with uncertainty. You start realizing that the skills that make you profitable as a trader make you powerful as a person. And that's the real game. If this part resonated, pause for a moment, hit like, subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, and share this with one trader who's in the middle of their storm right now. Because they might need to hear that the boredom, the uncertainty, the quiet, are not signs of failure. They're signs of transformation. Now take a deep breath, because in the next section, we're going deeper. The next signs are the most powerful ones. The point where you stop trying to beat the market and start becoming one with it. When ego dies, when flow begins, when your emotions stop leading, and your awareness takes over. There's a moment every developing trader reaches, when everything you used to chase starts chasing you. You can't quite explain it. Your entries start to feel effortless, your timing intuitive, and your emotions almost non-existent. That's sign number 7. You've entered the flow state. It's not something you force. It's something you allow. You wake up, make coffee, sit down at your desk, and the market feels clear. Not predictable, but clear. Like you can see the rhythm beneath the randomness. There's no voice in your head shouting, "What if?" No fear whispering, "Don't miss out." Just presence. You're not trying to outsmart the market anymore. You're listening to it. Because flow isn't about control. It's about connection. The charts stop being data. They become language. And every candle speaks, telling you a story of order and emotion, supply and demand, chaos and structure. And you listen, without needing to prove anything. You stop needing confirmation from the outside world, because the clarity you feel inside becomes the only confirmation you need. That's when you realize something powerful. Trading isn't about predicting outcomes. It's about synchronizing with uncertainty. In the flow state, you stop measuring time in hours or trades. You measure it in presence. Minutes stretch. Noise disappears. And even when you lose, it doesn't break your focus. Because you're no longer trading for results. You're trading for resonance. The amateurs think flow is luck. The professionals know it's alignment. It's what happens when skill, patience, and surrender finally intersect. But here's the thing. You can't reach that level while your ego's still in control. Because the ego doesn't want alignment. It wants validation. And that brings us to sign number 8, ego death. The day your ego dies, your profitability begins to live. At first, it doesn't feel like enlightenment. It feels like loss. Like the market stripped you of something you used to be proud of. Your identity as a trader. Because up until now, you've been trading to prove something. To prove you were smart enough. Disciplined enough. Better than the version of you who kept losing. But once the ego fades, none of that matters anymore. You stop needing to win to feel worthy. You stop comparing your progress to other traders. You stop needing anyone, even the market, to see you. You trade quietly now. You win quietly. You lose quietly. And ironically, that's when you start winning more. Because your ego was the heaviest baggage you ever carried. It made you overtrade when you wanted to look confident. It made you hold losers when you didn't want to look wrong. It made you exit winners too soon because you didn't want to give back profits. Ego doesn't trade for process. It trades for protection. But when you let it die, a strange thing happens. You become free. You start seeing loss as information. You stop labeling yourself as good or bad. You stop defending your trades and start listening to them. You're no longer the actor in the drama. You're the observer of it. That's where true mastery lives. You don't need the market to validate your worth anymore. You just show up, execute, record, and move on. Every trade feels like a conversation with yourself. Every win or loss is feedback, not judgment. And you begin to notice something magical. Peace becomes more profitable than excitement. Because when your ego finally dies, your objectivity is reborn. You no longer chase highs. You manage probabilities. You no longer defend bias. You respond to truth. You no longer trade to prove you're right. You trade to see what's right. And that, right there, is the point of mastery. That's when trading stops being a performance and becomes a practice. It becomes meditation with a chart. Every click, every breath, every decision is a reflection of who you've become. You've entered a new phase, the quiet confidence phase. You can go hours without trading, days without forcing, weeks without validation, because you finally understand that nothing needs to happen for you to feel complete. You're already playing the game the way it's meant to be played, with patience, clarity, and awareness. And the market feels that, because it always mirrors who you are. Flow and ego death are not mystical concepts. They're the inevitable result of emotional surrender. The market stops punishing you once you stop fighting it, because it's not here to hurt you, it's here to humble you, to strip away everything that isn't true. And once you're left with nothing but awareness, you find out that's all you ever needed. That's when trading becomes art. That's when effort becomes ease. That's when you stop trying to control the storm and learn to surf the waves. Because mastery isn't about perfection. It's about peace. And if you're listening to this and thinking, that's exactly how I've been feeling lately, then congratulations. You're further along than you think. Because ego death isn't the end of your trading identity. It's the beginning of your trading truth. Take a moment right now. Breathe. And if this section spoke to you, hit like, subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, and comment below where you're watching from. Tell me, have you felt that quiet shift lately? That sense that you no longer need to win to feel aligned? Because that's the stage where mastery begins. And in the next section, we'll close this journey with the final 2 signs that reveal the true mark of a consistently profitable trader. Not the ones who chase money, but the ones who attract it, where trading becomes less about charts and more about character. In the early days, every losing trade feels like an attack on your intelligence. You take it personally. You defend your strategy. You seek validation from being right, not from following your plan. But profitable traders don't chase being right. They chase being disciplined. They understand that the market isn't a test of intelligence. It's a mirror reflecting their self-awareness. When you truly internalize this, something magical happens. You stop arguing with the market. You stop getting emotional over red candles. You start saying things like, I followed my plan. That's a win, even if the trade lost money. Because here's the truth. You can be wrong and still profitable, if your losses are controlled and your risk is planned. You can also be right and still lose, if your ego refuses to take a stop. That's why this shift is so profound. You start seeing the market not as a place to prove your knowledge, but as a place to practice self-mastery. It's no longer about what happens on the chart. It's about how you respond to it. And once that's who you've become, you've already separated yourself from 90% of traders who are still trying to prove they're smarter than the market. Sign number 9, you value process over outcome. When you're still in the emotional stage of trading, everything revolves around results. You check your P&L after every trade. You refresh your account like it's a heartbeat monitor. You celebrate wins. You panic over losses. Your entire emotional world spins around numbers that change every second. But the shift toward profitability happens when your attention moves from the result to the ritual, from the money to the method. You start falling in love with journaling your trades. You start reviewing your screenshots more than your profit statements. You measure success by whether you executed your edge correctly, not whether you made money today. Because the moment you begin to honor the process, the outcomes naturally start to align. Consistency stops being something you chase. It becomes something you embody. And this is where true confidence grows. Because your confidence is no longer built on outcomes that fluctuate. It's built on habits that you control. Your process becomes your safety net. And as long as you follow it, you can face anything the market throws at you. Because you're rooted in structure, not emotion. That's the paradox of trading. When you stop obsessing over the money starts to come. Sign number 10, you finally trust yourself. It's not about trust in your strategy. It's not about trust in your indicators. It's deeper. It's about trust in your own ability to remain stable, no matter what happens. Because the profitable trader isn't the one who knows the most. It's the one who trusts themselves to execute when fear shows up. You've seen your emotional storms. You've survived your impulsive days. You've rebuilt from drawdowns that would have made others quit. And now, you've developed a quiet belief that no matter what happens, you'll adapt. You'll manage risk. You'll protect your capital. You'll find another setup. That's real freedom. When you no longer need certainty to act. When you no longer need external proof to believe in yourself. Because you've experienced enough losses, enough pain, enough emotional turbulence to finally understand that you are the constant, and the market is just the variable. This is the trader you've been becoming all along. The version of you that doesn't panic when volatility hits. The version that doesn't revenge trade. The version that doesn't need luck, because they have clarity. And that's the ultimate sign. Not that you're always winning, but that you finally understand what the game really is. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Not about control, but about trust. Not about money, but about mastery. If you've recognized even a few of these signs in yourself, you're closer than you think. Because profitability isn't a single breakthrough moment. It's a series of small internal transformations that quietly rewrite who you are. And when the outer world catches up, it feels like success appeared overnight. But the truth is, it's been building inside you this whole time. If this message connected with you, if you see yourself in this journey, don't forget to subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, hit like, and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and which sign hit you the hardest today. Because every comment and every like helps this message reach one more trader who's silently struggling. Maybe the version of you from last year. And if you want to support the mission of this channel, helping traders master their minds before their money, you can support us directly on Buy Me a Coffee. Remember, where the market meets the mind, that's where transformation begins. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay grounded, and trade with presence.